So what if I told you there's a book written almost 100 years ago that people still call the ultimate blueprint for success? We're talking entrepreneurs, athletes, leaders all over the world. A book that claims to have the secret formula for achievement. Well, that book is Think and Grow Rich, and its own story is just as wild as the secrets it claims to share.
I mean, the influence of this book is just staggering. You know Damon John, right? From Shark Tank, the founder of FUBU? He says he reads it every few years just to keep his edge. Imagine that, a tool so powerful that one of today's top entrepreneurs uses it to stay on his game. And he is not alone, not by a long shot.
And it's not just for the business world. Get this. World heavyweight champ Ken Norton, the guy who famously went toe-to-toe with Muhammad Ali, he said this book gave him the mental power to win, to beat one of the greatest fighters of all time. That's some serious impact.
Okay, so how big are we talking? Well, the numbers are just mind-blowing. It's tough to get an exact count, but the estimates are well over 100 million copies sold worldwide. Let that sink in. This isn't just a book, it's a global movement.
And here it is. You gotta remember, this was first published in 1937, right in the thick of the Great Depression. The world was desperate for hope, and Napoleon Hill's book delivered. It basically said, hey, your greatest asset isn't your money, it's your mind. So what is the secret that has captivated millions of people for nearly a century? All right, so the heart of the book is what Hill calls the philosophy of achievement, and he breaks it all down into 13 steps. It's basically a roadmap that promises to turn your biggest dreams into your actual reality.
The whole entire philosophy really hangs on this one single powerful idea, that your thoughts are real things. They're tangible forces that have the power to create the circumstances of your life. I mean, his entire philosophy is right there in that quote, what the mind can conceive and believe it can achieve.
So let's look at a few of the key steps. It all kicks off with desire. And we're not talking about a simple wish. No, this is an all-consuming, burning obsession for a very specific goal. Next, you need faith, just this unshakable belief that you can and you will achieve it. Then comes the nitty-gritty, organized planning to build your roadmap and making firm decisions without hesitating. Of course, you need relentless persistence when you hit those roadblocks, and crucially, the power of the mastermind. Now, this is so much more than just networking. It's the idea of building a small, trusted group to bounce ideas off of, creating this kind of collective superbrain. It's a surprisingly practical setup.
But you have to wonder, where did this whole powerful philosophy come from? Well, that brings us to the book's absolutely legendary origin story.
So the story goes that it all started with a challenge from one of the richest men in history, the steel magnate Andrew Carnegie. He apparently believed there was a secret formula for success, and he tasked a young Napoleon Hill with spending his life uncovering it.
And this challenge supposedly set Hill off on this epic 20-year quest. He claimed he interviewed over 500 titans of American industry. You know, guys like Henry Ford, Thomas Edison, John D. Rockefeller, to figure out what they all had in common. He then distilled all that wisdom into a single philosophy, which finally got published in 1937.
I mean, it is an incredible story of mentorship and dedication, right? It gives the book so much authority. But this is where our own story takes a really sharp turn. What if that whole foundation just isn't real?
So let's dig into the other side of this. Let's look at how the historical records actually challenge this whole foundational narrative.
Hill basically built his entire legacy on that one meeting with Carnegie in 1908. But here's the thing. According to Carnegie's official biographer, David Nassa, there is zero record that it ever happened. No letters, no journal entries, nothing.
And the questions don't stop there. As you start to dig, a very different picture starts to form. Historical records suggest that in 1908, Hill wasn't meeting with tycoons. He was actually on the run from the police for alleged fraud. He didn't even mention the Carnegie story until years after Carnegie had died and couldn't refute it. What's more, there's little to no proof he actually met with that long list of famous men, and a huge chunk of the book was actually written and edited by his wife at the time, Rosalie Beelan.
So, with the entire origin story in serious doubt, why is this book still a massive bestseller? Why do millions upon millions of people still swear by it?
The book's staying power is just unbelievable. From giving people a lifeline of hope during the Great Depression all the way to landing on Business Week's bestseller list 70 years later, its message clearly transcends its own backstory.
And that really seems to be the crucial point.
You've got leaders like the former CEO of Coca-Cola who argue that the advice itself is what really matters. The core principles of setting goals, of being persistent, of thinking positively, they're timeless, no matter where they came from.
So maybe the ultimate takeaway here is this. The true value of Think and Grow Rich isn't found in its legendary and questionable origin story. It's in the practical, actionable philosophy it contains. Millions of people have applied these principles and have seen real, profound changes in their own lives.
And that leaves all of us with a pretty fascinating question to think about. In the end, does the source of a great idea really matter if the idea itself actually works?